Hello and welcome. Thank you for purchasing a CITIBIN trash enclosure. This step-by-step video is intended as a companion to the printed manual included with the kit. The printed manual can be found in the box that says, "Start with this box." The tools and hardware will also be in this box. The instructions in the printed manual and this video have been tailored for a 3-module trash enclosure. If you purchased a different modular configuration, you will still be able to use this video, with some modification based on your particular configuration. Manuals for other size configurations are available on our website at citibin.com/assembly. If you have experience assembling furniture from stores such as IKEA or CB2, then this video is for you. If DIY assembly is not your cup of tea, you might consider our assembly services or hiring a handy person. Contact us for more details. And now, before we start assembling your CITIBIN, here are some tips you should know that apply throughout the whole assembly process. First, please do not attempt this assembly alone. It requires a 2-person team. Second, find the bag with the tools, making sure that there are 3 Allen keys and 1 level. We recommend that you use the Allen keys provided. However, if you have the correct bits and want to use a drill, do the first turns by hand with the Allen keys and only use the electric screwdriver at the end to tighten. Otherwise, you could strip the threads. Third, scout the area where your CITIBIN will be assembled to make sure the ground is as flat as possible for proper leveling. Also, make sure that the intended area for installation does not have obstructions such as vents, pipes, gates, or cellar doors. Finally, and this tip is important, please leave the screws loose until the CITIBIN is fully assembled and only tighten the screws completely at the very end. This will help with leveling and enable alignment adjustments. Now let's start assembling your CITIBIN. Step 1, base and feet. For this step, you will need the bases and the feet. Simply screw 4 feet into each base all the way. Line the bases up next to each other, making sure that the front and back of each base are placed correctly. The fronts of the bases have no screw holes, as pictured in the manual. Step 2, level bases. For this step, you will use the level provided with the kit. This is an example of the base sitting too high on the feet. This is an example of the feet not touching the ground. The bases are installed correctly when all feet touch the ground. Here's a tip. Start the base adjustments where the foundation is highest. Step 3, connector brackets and bars. For a 3-module, you will need 2 connector brackets, 2 bars, and 12 number 1 screws. For a 2-module, you will need 1 connector bracket, 1 bar, and 6 number 1 screws. For a 4-module, you will need 3 connector brackets, 3 bars, and 18 number 1 screws, and so on. Using the screws, attach the connector bar or bars to the front of the bases as shown. Now attach the connector bracket or brackets to the rear of the bases. They are symmetrical, so there is no difference between the top and bottom. Step 4, side panel. For this step, you will need a side panel and 2 number 1 screws. The difference between the top and bottom of a panel is indicated by the position of the logo plate, which is always at the top. Attach the side panel to the base as shown. You can start with the left or right panel, whichever is more comfortable. We recommend starting in a corner where space is more constrained. Step 5, back panel. For this step, you will need 5 number 1 screws for each of the back panels on the end, and 6 number 1 screws for the back panel in the middle. You can determine the top from the bottom by matching the screw holes of the back panel with the screw holes of the base. There is only one way to do it. Attach the first back panel on the end as shown with 5 number 1 screws. Next, attach the middle back panel as shown with 6 number 1 screws and attach the final back panel with 5 number 1 screws. Please note that for the 2-module unit, there will be no middle back panel. In this case, each back panel will be attached with only 5 number 1 screws. Units with more than 2 modules will have multiple middle back panels, which will each require 6 number 1 screws to be attached. Once all the back panels are attached, we'll resume with step 8. side panel. For this step, you will need the left side panel and 4 number 1 screws. Attach the left side panel to the base as shown. They are symmetrical, and the difference between the top or bottom is indicated by the logo plate, which is on the top. Step 9, connector brackets. For this step, you will need 2 connector brackets and 4 number 1 screws. For 2 module trash enclosures, you will need 1 connector bracket and 2 number 1 screws. For a 4 module trash enclosure, you will need 3 connector brackets, 6 number 1 screws, and so on. Attach the connector bracket to each of the back panel seams as shown. Step 10, top door. For this step, you will need all 3 top doors and 21 number 1 screws. Attach the first top door as shown. For the 2 module units, there will only be 2 top doors. 4 module units will have 4 top doors, and so on. Please note that for units with more than 2 modules, the middle top doors will require 8 number 1 screws. Once all the top doors are attached, we'll resume with step 13, front door hinges. For this step, you will need 2 hinges and 4 number 2 screws for each door you will be attaching. 2 module units will have 2 doors. 3 module units will have 3 doors, and so on. Holding each door as shown, attach the hinges to the long, thin side of each door. These screws can be fully tightened immediately. Step 14, front doors. For this step, you will need the doors with the hinges attached and 12 number 1 screws. You may hinge the doors on the right or the left, depending on how you want each door to open. Attach the first front door as shown. These screws can be fully tightened immediately. Repeat this step once more for the 2 module unit, twice more for the 3 module unit, and so on. Once all the front doors are attached, we'll resume with step 16, latches and handles. For this step, you will need 2 number 2 screws for each handle and 4 number 3 screws for each latch. Attach the latches and handles as shown. The screws for the handles can be tightened immediately, but leave the screws on the latches loose until the end of the assembly. Step 17, nuts for base. For this step, you will need 4 nuts for each base in your unit. Attach the nuts to the feet of each base as shown, remembering to keep them loose for now. Steps 18 and 19, visual inspection. Before final visual inspection, tighten all the number 1 screws. Once all the number 1 screws have been tightened, you may need to make adjustments to the feet of the unit if there are misalignments, like this. Make sure that the front doors are aligned, including the latches as shown. Also, make sure that the lock hasps are in alignment, adjusting them if necessary. Once everything is in perfect alignment, then you may proceed to tighten the nuts for the feet. Step 20, your assembly is complete. Enjoy the beauty and security of your new trash enclosure, and thank you for purchasing CITIBIN. If you have any questions or comments about this assembly video or CITIBIN in general, we'd love to hear them. Please let us know your thoughts. From all of us at CITIBIN, thanks again.